Welcome to the Online Graduate Research Forum for Spring 2017. My name is Noel Fuller, and I'm your presenter. I am a graduate student in the Masters of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies program in the Department of Occupational, Workforce, and Leadership Studies. The title of my research study is Another Satisfied Customer: Academic Advising Assessment Through Student Expectation, Perception, Communication Preference, and Satisfaction. I was excited to pursue this research study to gather more insight on areas of communication need in academic advising. After reading about the emergence of new forms of communication technology and their increasing role in the workplace, I wanted to see if the same trends existed in the academic advising realm. Furthermore, academic advising's wide variety of information that is communicated to students means there is potential for better matches of particular communication formats to the type of information. Given that many of the academic advising centers on campus utilize a wide array of technology and communication to interact with students, I wanted to get a snapshot of what types of communication were preferred by the student population. In addition, I wanted to know if the current methods of communication currently met student expectations. Finally, with the diverse student population that Texas State possesses, I wanted to be able to view the variations in expectations and preferences over several different student types. I wanted to see if various student types preferred their advising communication differently, and how that might impact their levels of satisfaction with advising. I read through several studies who looked at some of these variables independently, but was unable to find any previous research that viewed all these variables through a single lens. The purpose of this study was to identify current patterns and expectations, identify advising communication preferences, and assess current levels of satisfaction with advising communication at Texas State. 3 research questions guided the study. 1. What type of relationship exists between student expectations and satisfaction with academic advising communication? 2. What are students' current attitudes and preferences towards communication with academic advisors through face-to-face interactions, email correspondence, and emerging ICT? And 3. What type of advising style do students perceive their academic advisors utilize? I utilized a descriptive design for my research. The goal was to create a snapshot of student preferences based on their actual experiences. The study's participants consisted of current students attending Texas State who have communicated with one of the 8 academic advising centers from the following list. This list includes applied arts, education, business, fine arts, liberal arts, science and engineering, university college, and health professions advising centers. For the purpose of this study, I did not include the students who were advised by the PACE Center or at the Round Rock campus due to their unique population types. The PACE Center primarily consists of traditional students with less than 16 credit hours, and Round Rock advising, while utilizing much of the same information that the other 8 centers use, provides an experience unlike the others due in part to its location. Although each of the 8 advising centers used for this study provides their own version of advising communication, many of the same forms of communication are used in common practice. Data collection comprised of sending out an electronic survey via email to a random sample of students pulled from a student database I have access to as a Texas State employee. The survey consisted of 27 total items, including several rankings and scale response items. These emails were sent out in phases in order to gauge what type of response rate could be expected. Since Texas State students are already heavily surveyed, I knew I would need to set a lower expectation for my response rate percentage. Collection ran from September to December of last year, and after going through 4 rounds of emails, a total of 124 responses were compiled. Data analysis comprised of descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, and some multivariate analysis in order to utilize the various independent variables collected in the survey. The primary means of analysis were through Qualtrics report analysis and SPSS statistical package, which I had access to as a Texas State employee. After conducting analysis, several major findings emerged. 1. Face-to-face appointments most preferred overall. So face-to-face advising was found to be the most preferred form of advising communication for selecting courses in general advising inquiries. As you can see from the table, roughly 71% of respondents ranked face-to-face advising as their most preferred method of general advising. In my research, media richness theory helped provide insight as to why face-to-face advising was most preferred. Since students indicated their advisors were generally developmental in nature, the information being presented to students is often more ambiguous and more dense than simple dates and deadlines. Face-to-face advising provides opportunity for students to ask for feedback and achieve more understanding than with other leaner forms of communication. Number 2. Email preferred for dates and deadlines. Now, with all that being said, email emerged as the preferred communication method for receiving academic dates and deadlines in particular. Since there is little ambiguity or misinterpretation that can come from this type of information, media richness theory helps us predict that a leaner form of communication, such as email, can be used to communicate these black and white messages. And since there is little ambiguity to address, students likely don't need the immediate feedback that a communication format like face-to-face advising provides because of it. Third, no previous expectations for social media. Since my research also wanted to see if communication technology may possibly be gaining ground in the advising world, finding that students primarily had no previous expectation of social media formats in advising was a surprising find. Since students don't have a previous expectation for social media in advising, it means that there is an untapped communication method that can potentially help students receive advising communications. Since some of the analysis of my data indicated that the more expectations are met, the higher levels of satisfaction will be for students, finding a way to set and meet the expectations of the students in regards to these new communication technologies can potentially be advantageous to advising centers. One of the primary implications of this study is that although social media as a current form of communication technology does not have a strong presence in advising, it is a resource that is potentially underutilized. Learning how to further meet the expectations of communication of an increasingly diverse student population is essential in order to maintain high levels of service quality and satisfaction. Two important areas that limited my research were the advising center's use of social media and the unreliability of students self-identifying their classification. As I previously mentioned, each advising center utilizes each form of communication technology differently. Although students may have self-identified their use of a certain technology, additional questioning of advising center supervisors indicated that not all centers utilize social media in a true advising capacity. As for classification, students are often confused on classification since it's based on credit hours as opposed to actual time in school. When incorporated into analysis, the student classifications yielded no significant differences or findings, so they were omitted. For future research questions, two particular areas come to mind. First, finding out what types of information students would feel comfortable receiving through social media would be a potential direction of research. Incorporating social media can be complicated due to the confidentiality of student academic information. However, advising centers do have certain things like dates and deadlines that could potentially be effectively communicated through these platforms. Second, research that provides a better control scenario could potentially yield additional insight. When I initially began this project, I wanted to tackle a large swath of the student population with a large number of variables. While this provided a unique set of data, it also left a large margin of experiential differences for each student. Perhaps future research can focus specifically on a certain type of information and possibly employ a more experimental design that provides more control of the communication formats. With all the potential differences in communication style from one center to another, creating an experimental advising setting can ensure consistency in experience for all participants in the study. I prepared a manuscript of this research study for possible peer review in the Journal of Student Affairs Research and Practice, formerly known as NASPA. I believe that the interdisciplinary nature of the study and the realm of student affairs makes a great fit for this particular research. On the YouTube page below, please indicate your anonymous preference for this study by clicking on one of the two icons. In addition, please post your comments or questions in the YouTube comment section below. I will be responding to inquiries posted on this page from April 14th to the 28th. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you enjoy.